Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the right side of campus. We are live on a Friday, February 9th, 2018. I'm your host, the big man on campus here with my co-host, Donnie Rightside, wrapping up football finally. The parade was yesterday. We're wrapping it up here. NBA trade deadline, college hoops. A lot to get to today as we get you ready for the weekend. Donnie Rightside, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. I'm actually, Jeff, first time in a while, rested and ready. You know me, I'm an old man, so sometimes I got to go to bed early. But you waking up yesterday around 4 o'clock, Jeff, same as you probably, making that long trek into the city, parked all the way down by IKEA on Delaware Avenue, trumped all the way up to Broad Street. Sat there. We got to maybe, I would say, about 6:15 to our parade spot. Stood there for about 6, 7 hours, then trucked all the way back to Delaware Avenue and finally drove home in the traffic. So a long day, but a great day, a long week, as you know, being down in Costa Rica, the travel as well. But rested and ready, finally, be a nice day to put that final bow, Jeff, on the NFL season. Looking forward to it, and a lot of good things down the road. But you're right, feeling good today, man. Feeling good.
Yeah, long day, long week. I mean, between uh, the Sunday night celebrations and the parade and just not a ton of sleep, Donnie. But we trudged through it. It's your first championship. You got to do what you got to do. But we wake it up here and we welcome everyone in to the show around the world. We welcome you. We hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the show and enjoy everything here at SPR. Make sure you're checking out all the great content here as we head into the weekend. Hit the like button, please. A great way to grow the show. And if you're on Twitter, retweet the show. Make sure it gets out to your followers. And, it's a good way to grow the show as well. Donnie, we get into our morning headlines here on a Friday. We start out with Jimmy Garoppolo getting a big payday, $90 million over the next 3 years, 27.5 million a year. I believe he's the most highest paid quarterback at this point. Obviously, it's something you have to do, and this is the culture of the NFL now. When you have a quarterback, you got to pay for him. You got to let him have him, let him have him hang around. Um, Niners did what they had to do here.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that, Jeff? Usually, a lot of the new formulas in the NFL of how to win the Super Bowl and how to get through is when you have the younger team, you grow with the quarterback. The reason why the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff, were able to progress, make key free agent off field signings is because you're not paying Carson Wentz $150 million yet. It'll be interesting because I like the trade, the same as you, Jeff. I know how high you are on the 49ers for next year, but now you have the highest paid player of all time on your football team, which, again, it's not quote unquote a bad thing because I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a good quarterback, and timing is of the essence. When you strike while the iron's hot, you're going to get paid the same way all these other quarterbacks down the line are going to get paid as well. But Jeff, you don't get that bump and say, all right, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to make $2.3 million this year. Let's spend on free agents. And then next year, maybe the year down the line, we'll have to pay him. But we'll get a couple years out of Jimmy Garoppolo at that bargain rate basement. But a different scenario, obviously stayed through his rookie contract in New England. You have to pay the guy. But I want to see how this is going to work out because this will cash strap these San Francisco 49ers. They need to make some key adjustments. But it's a move you had to make. I'm not going to bitch and moan, Jeff, and say, you know what? Look at this deal. It's way too high. If the quarterback is worth his weight in gold, you got to pay him like it, right?
Yeah, and look, I'm a big Niner guy going forward. I think this team really will have something as we go into next season. They have the leaders there in the clubhouse, if you will. Coach wise and the GM position and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, look, you got to do what you got to do. And Jimmy G was, I mean, if he's anything like the last 3 or 4 games, um, great quarterback. Looking forward to seeing how he plays as next season goes on, and even after that. Donnie, interesting story out of Colorado State basketball program. Larry Eustace out, or it's been put on paid leave basically as the coach at Colorado State. However, a weird situation developing inside the locker room. Players are boycotting practice after discussing that they're sick of hearing the media report what's going on as opposed to the administration. Students aren't happy; they're not being dealt with correctly. They're not playing well as it is. So definitely, if they got to play at some point. So probably want to fade them, but yeah, this is definitely a fluid situation. Players aren't happy; they want the right information. No one's giving it to them, and I think they're pretty pissed off here. Um, Eustace let go due to supposedly verbally and emotionally assaulting the students there. There's been some question marks on his coaching tactics. Also, I don't know if you know this, Donnie. Back in 2003, he had a weird picture, a couple of pictures going around of him kissing
Go ahead.
students at other schools. Very weird. So yeah, this is not the first time Eustachy's been in the news, and Colorado State's sick of it.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting story. But then again, Jeff, when you date it back to, you're right, bringing up the old photos. This is Larry Eustachy's MO. Not to say he's not a good coach, not to say his players don't like him or he's not going to get along. But once you have that as your MO and that's what you're about, you're going to get tripped up. Same thing with Bob Knight. I mean, Bob Knight's an angry guy. When you interview him and he gets angry, is that going to be a surprise? No, people don't change their stripes despite moving on to different situations. But it is kind of interesting that and it's so coy now, Jeff, because, once you get the lawyers involved, right? Because you have to do it right. Because if you just fire him, then he says, well, you owe me $4 million left on my contract. But if you put some certain terms in there, Jeff, maybe you can get a buyout at $1 million. That's what's going on right now. And who's the biggest loser in all this, Jeff? The kids. The kids that play for him there. You're holding him out. And, Jeff, this is not like, this broke last night. I bet on a game last week, the Wyoming game, if you remember, Jeff. I pulled one rabbit out of my hat in double overtimes. But that was one of the first days that you heard about it, where in the morning they're interviewing players and the coach. They weren't even sure if they were going to allow him to coach that night against Wyoming. So now you stretch it out another week. Nobody knows what's going on. But again, Jeff, it's, Larry Eustachy, one way or another, to me, Jeff, he's going to get paid. He'll be fine. But then you leave the kids out there and it's going to be an assistant coach and they're already having a tough season. They're the big losers in this one.
Yeah, like always. We move on to the NBA trade deadline. A fury of moves yesterday. A lot went on. Cavs were in the forefront of the moves, getting rid of a decent chunk of the team. Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas were among the big names. And listen, Isaiah Thomas needed to be moved. I mean, he's one of the most worthless players in the league right now. He has had a horrible year. The chemistry's just not there. He's an awful teammate. He plays little to no defense at all. And we have Donnie. I talked to one of the listeners, Rob Job, recently, and he brought that up, saying, I don't know why any team would want Isaiah Thomas. I kind of agree at this point. He's pretty useless. He doesn't do anything really of note, and he's an annoying teammate. Jay Crowder, I don't necessarily like getting rid of him, but again, you got to do what you got to do. You bring in players like Larry Nance, Jordan Clarkson, guys that are going to be good glue guys, give you some energy. Clarkson, a good scorer. Nance, more of an athletic guy, going to do some dirty work on the block. I think the Cavs are a better team after this. Defensively, they might continue to have trouble, I think, but they made more moves than anyone else. And look, the writing's kind of on the wall at this point. LeBron's probably gone. If you're asking me, does these trades make sense for this year? Yes. Do they make sense long term? No. Because if LeBron leaves, you're the Knicks and the Hawks. That's what you are. What do you think about this?
It's kind of baffling to me because doesn't it all just start before? Like, all right, you're trying to retool. We get it, to beat Golden State. But you have a team good enough that you can just trudge. Half the problem or half the struggle, Jeff, is what? Just getting there to the finals before you can win it. The whole trade that went down was Kyrie Irving couldn't get along with LeBron. You couldn't mend those fences. So you send him to a rival who was nipping at your heels already and make them a better team and send back damaged goods. It's Dan Gilbert from the top of the organization on down and never understood what they were doing. Now, again, you have to cater to LeBron because you want him to stay because why? He's worth a lot of dollars to that organization. LeBron leaving Cleveland, to me, within 5 years, Cleveland might end up in Seattle at this point because before they got LeBron James, they were headed on moving out of town and having no fans show up at their games and no interest whatsoever. So it is a money grab. And was it any surprise that you heard Dan Gilbert was putting the Cleveland organization up for sale? No, because they see what's coming down the line. When LeBron leaves, that's going to go back to a barren wasteland of basketball where you're going to have a tough time drawing free agents to the city of Cleveland. But getting back from a basketball perspective, Jeff, I just don't understand. Like, you're making all these moves and LeBron's at the door because you got George Hill. He's going to stay next year. I mean, you actually set up the Los Angeles Lakers better because they're getting a contract with Isaiah Thomas. They might as well just cut Isaiah Thomas. They don't want anything to do with that guy. Then they're going to have that massive amount of cap space at the end of the year to sign. Great move, Jeff, by the Lakers setting him up. I just don't know what Cleveland's doing. Just mixing around some chairs on the Titanic. You know that ship's sinking. They're not even going to make it out of the East this year, and LeBron's going to move on. I don't understand it from a Cleveland perspective.
Yeah, I think this is kind of that Band-Aid, man. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what they're doing long term, but I guess they think that they have maybe a year left. I still think they're a pretty good team. George Hill's a pretty good point guard. Rodney Hood, depth wise, you still have obviously LeBron and Tristan Thompson. Listen, the problem that I have with the other teams in the conference that are above them or right at the same level, I don't know that they improved themselves. They didn't improve themselves, and I have a problem with that. The Toronto Raptors didn't do anything, which look, I still wonder about their validity. I mean, they never win when it matters. So, do we really believe in them? Do you believe in Kyle Lowry? I love DeRozan. I like Valanciunas, but can you ever trust them when it comes to the playoffs? They had a good bench. Maybe they don't think they need anything, but the trade deadlines for teams that generally can shore up what they're doing. Boston Celtics didn't do anything either. Could have went out and got Tyreek Evans. Gordon Hayward's not coming back, and if he does, it's going to be very late. Why not add someone that can help you win games from here on out? It's going to help your defense and everything you do. Either way, though, the Cavs, we don't really know what they're doing in the future, but I guess for this year, they
Yeah,
probably will still be able to get out of the East.
when you look at the Cavs' future now, if you're a good business organization, right, and you can see because a lot of these guys are billionaire, Jeff, not by effort because they fell into something, because they had a vision for the future and could set them up properly and went to attack. Why not trade LeBron James yesterday? Why not? He's going to leave. LeBron is leaving, and even if you do make it out of the East, Jeff, to the finals, you're getting your head kicked in. And you know what? If LeBron stays and he makes it out of the East next year again, they're getting their head kicked in the finals. They're not winning anything. Why not just ship LeBron out, wait out the Golden State Warriors, get young, and try to make a run at it in 5 to 6 years at this point? The point of holding on to LeBron now, he's not winning again in Cleveland whatsoever. Why not get maximum trade value right now for him and retool for the future when Golden State is coming down?
Agreed. We move on and wrap up the NFL season. We put a bow on it finally until at least trade deadline and the NFL draft come around. We wrap it up with the parade yesterday. A lot of people were there. I would say probably millions of people were there. We haven't had a final count just yet, but there were a lot of people there yesterday. There were revelers all up and down the parade route. We had Jason Kelsey's speech. We had the beers throwing to the players. Just a great day, Donnie. A great way to cap off a great team and a team that really embodied what a winning is. They were a likable group with plenty of storylines, rise and fall of the team, and um, you know, uh, players going down with injuries, and you saw yesterday they really embodied that city as far as that's who we are as a group, and I thought it was great. All those speeches were great. It was nice seeing Carson Wentz, and I think you could see the fire in his eyes about wanting to go out and replicate that. Nick Foles, a hero now. Doug Peterson can't do anything wrong anymore. And I liked that Howie Roseman was included in the speech with Kelsey. Howie Roseman detailed his Roseman's descent back to the other end of the hallway. Kind of waiting it out while that nut Chip Kelly was there. Calls out Mike Lombardi, which was funny. A lot of things, and the last thing I'll say, Donnie, I'll be I'll be honest right now. I didn't like Doug Peterson. I didn't like the hire. I didn't understand it. I didn't see it. I don't think any of us did. We saw a backup quarterback that had little to no experience coming from the high school and college level and play calling level. And how's he going to run the team? But you talk about a guy that like legendary status over the last 16 weeks. I actually have videos, Donnie, of like week one, week two of complaining about his play calling. I didn't like
Yep.
it. But what a turnaround, what a guy, what a coach. And I really began to like Doug Peterson a lot. It's a regular guy that loves to coach. Yeah, and that's what you get with all these guys. Just they seem like regular dudes that love the city. I mean, did one of them seem like they didn't love what was going on? I mean, there's no me guys. There's no I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It's not like that. And you gotta love this team.
Yeah, the parade yesterday, Jeff, the speech by Kelsey was just an embodiment of the entire culture in Philadelphia. And it's every single year. When you get told you can't win, you won't win, you don't have any trophies, you don't have any rings. The speech yesterday told exactly the story down the line, Jeff, because me and you come on here each and every week. And we like to have fun. Again, as I always say, the give and the take is awesome. But didn't you hear it all year long? You didn't beat anybody. Who have you beaten? You lost your quarterback, you're done. You ain't beating Atlanta. You're not going to beat Minnesota. Oh my God, you go up against Brady in the Super Bowl. Eagles defense stinks. Offense can't move the football on the road. He can't do anything. Every single time that you had to, and Jeff, keep in mind, this wasn't one of those Giants luck-ass runs where you go 8-8 and make a run in the playoffs and you just, go like this. Ooh, we weren't that good this year, but maybe if we catch a couple balls off our helmet, we can move on. It had nothing to do with that. The Eagles were the best single team in football from opening day, damn near right through to the Super Bowl. And they even lost their starting quarterback and lost key components all the way through. But every single time you heard it, Jeff, you never would have known the Eagles were 11-2, 12-2, 9-2 at one point. You never would have known that because you always got the old, they didn't beat anybody this year. You can only beat who you play in front of them. You can only slap around guys in front of your face. Yeah, you're going to play bad teams, but you're going to eviscerate them by 30-plus points. But again, it all got back to that same point Jason Kelce was saying. Nobody on the Eagles, when he went up and down the roster, this guy's too old. This guy stinks. This guy can't cover. This guy should have got cut. What's this guy doing here? Awful coaching staff. He's never been able to do this. Jim Schwartz never won anything. Jeffrey Lurie's never put together anything. Howie Roseman is a numbers guy. All that stuff melded into one, which gave that fuel the entire way throughout the end of the season where nobody gave the Eagles a chance despite being the best single roster in all of the National Football League, and it wasn't even close.
And the Eagles aren't going anywhere. I hate to tell anyone out there. They should be the favorites next year to win the Super Bowl. They're only getting better. They're only going to add players that are coming back. Jordan Hicks will be back. Carson Wentz will be back. I've heard Jason Peters will be back. Darren Sproles might make a comeback. This team ain't going anywhere. They'll lose a piece or two, but it ain't going to be much. And I got to also tell you, Nick Foles ain't going anywhere either. I think we've realized over this week that Nick Foles ain't going anywhere. Nick Foles is, I think, content with who he is at this point. I don't think he has any interest in going anywhere else and, starting over and being the quarterback for the Browns or whoever. He'll make a lot of money to sit back and, at least start the season off as our starter. He won a Super Bowl. And he'll ride off into the sunset.
Where would you even go, Jeff, with Nick Foles, right? If you pick the scenario, forget about money, because quarterbacks shouldn't make money. They already make, they make enough as is, but they can get more. And let's just say he does get traded and go somewhere where they work out a new deal. Outside of maybe, if you went to, let's just say, maybe Minnesota, because DeFilippo is going there as their offensive coordinator, and they would pay you $125 million. That's a really good situation on a good football team. But is he looking to go to the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, those type of organizations where it's yeah, you're going to get paid, but you're not going to like football anymore because you're going to get your head bashed into a ringer and not win anything. And even though you did win a Super Bowl and you were the MVP, maybe that satisfies you enough. But don't you want to pick your situation at this point when money technically doesn't matter? We all want to get paid. And he's only 29 years old, so he's got a long life, even as a backup quarterback in the NFL. But sometimes your quality of life overrules everything. So you know what? I made a lot of money. My family's from money. I'm going to make another $50 million in the rest of my career if I'm just a backup here for the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you know what I mean? Do you want to go to Cleveland, make all that money and get your ass kicked?
So much luck involved in NFL success, injury scheduling. It's nice to see Doug Peterson succeed, but the Eagles would be lucky to get back to the conference championship, just like Atlanta. Hey, Dan, the difference is Atlanta didn't win. Eagles did. It's all about building that dynasty because Eagles will be back. You better believe it. We'll keep it moving here, Donnie. As far as the NFL going forward, we look forward to next season. Obviously, New England, the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I believe the Eagles are second. Packers are in there. I saw yesterday you could get 9-1 on the Eagles to repeat. Not a bad price for the best team in the league with Carson back. I don't hate that pick. I don't know how on earth you bet the Patriots. I mean, really.
No, there's a lot going on. Do you see the article, Jeff, that came up too, where the New England or I forget what paper in New England put it out there, Brady's going to hold out now that they see his Garoppolo get all that money, and he's been playing that good soldier over the past couple of years. Now, keep in mind, Jeff, this is the Patriots, right? So when we see like Tom Brady's, taking one for the team, and instead of taking 25 million, he's only going to take 12 million. Does any little part of you, Jeff, figure that he's getting 12 million on the books and like a nice cash bonus off the books and some cryptocurrency in Switzerland from Robert Kraft for another 25 million per year? It's just I never put it past the Patriots, but it would be funny if Tom Brady's not like, you know what? I don't know how much time I have left, but now I'm ready to break the bank out there. It would be just hilarious for me.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're only just past the Super Bowl, hard to decide on this stuff. But at 8, 9 to 1, I don't think it's a bad play on the Eagles. I mean, you know, it's the best price you're going to get probably. Um, Donnie, what are you thinking? Any comment on this?
On what?
On any futures you like?
Oh, I mean, I'm not a big, you know me, I'm not a big futures guy, but if we take teams like, those rise in the fall type teams, Jeff, I think you have it scoped up pretty good. I guess you can't really say the Rams are on the rise because they've already had a good season and you can project them playing well. The 49ers, would they finish up the season, Jeff? 5-0 to end the season. They're going to be tough out there. And you have the same thing coming down, like the Arizonas of the world, the Seattles of the world, Jeff, taking that step back. Those are the teams that you want to realize in, Jeff. And I don't want to get caught up in this storm again, right? So you're looking down in the NFC South. Drew Brees getting a year older. They're still a really good football team. The NFC South is going to be really good. Atlanta's still going to be a good football team. Carolina still going to be a good football team. Is Tampa Bay ever going to wake themselves up, Jeff, off the mat? Or maybe we just overscoped them last year, and that's really what they are with Jameis Winston, a talented roster out there, but maybe just not enough to get over because they're not getting the benefit of the doubt, Jeff. Like, they don't play in like, the scrub division where you can pick up, when we always talk about New England getting a free bye week because they play the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, and the New York Jets. That's a tough-ass division to try to make your comeuppance at because it's hard to be a 12-4 or 13-3 team in the NFC South. I know we bought early this year, Jeff, on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were injured, but they didn't play that well. Is that one of those teams that maybe you say, you know what, they're one of those teams that's that asteroid ripping up, but then they just burn out quickly there? Give me your thoughts on Tampa Bay, Jeff, moving forward, because I know you even had a future on, Jameis Winston become an MVP if
Yeah.
they put it together, but I think it's one of those teams we might have missed on, me and you.
Well, I think it's interesting now. I have a good, I'm not saying it's a surefire thing, but you look at last year. You had the Rams, who I liked because I thought all the shit was gone, all the hard knocks and all the off the field stuff, and they got a new coach. They were kind of rejuvenated a bit. They were past the whole year being in LA, and they played real well off that. You look at Tampa Bay, a lot of issues last year. They had hard knocks there, just a lot to kind of replicate. I feel like that shows just a little bit of a burden. I wouldn't want my team anywhere near that show. Seems like it kind of screws up the monotony of what you're doing, and kind of makes there be an extra realm to think about as you think about the season. There was a lot of pressure. You know, I thought Jameis was just weird all. It just was weird all year. I don't know. It just didn't work. They had a lot of pieces there, but nothing really ever worked. I would like to see them maybe make a change of coordinator. Didn't like the play calling. Defensively, they had some trouble at times. Need to shore up a secondary that's not very good. Yeah, I think we definitely overrated them, sure. But I definitely think they have plenty of playmakers there. Mike Evans, Deshaun, Jameis. You know, what's their run game situation? Doug Martin's in and out of the team all season. Yeah, it's a tough division, though. I mean, you got four teams that are pretty good. Um, Listen, I still think Atlanta and New Orleans are the best teams. Um, Listen, I don't know why people are so high on Carolina constantly. I guess we'll see what they do. I wasn't too impressed with them, but we'll see. Donnie, if you had to pick right now on a winner of the NFC South, who you taking?
The NFC South right now, if I had to take, honestly, Jeff, depending on what they do in the offseason, but going into next year, to me, I think the Saints are still the best team in that division. I do
Right.
like Atlanta, but it seems like they're sort of always missing something. And I like Carolina if they're healthy again. I mean, they stripped down that offense. Get Cam Newton a couple wideouts we can sling it around with. Their defense is still going to be good, but when you lean on a healthy Drew Brees and they're going to maneuver and make some good moves out there, maybe fortify the defense a little bit. They have a couple really electric rookies. The offense is going to move just because it's Drew Brees. I still give them a little bit of the balance out there, but that's going to be a division where each and every week you're going to have to come to play. But I give the edge to New Orleans, Jeff. How about you feeling down there?
Well, listen, I think, and that's why this is hard. I mean, until you know what they do at the offseason, it's not really, look, if Carolina does 3 or 4 different things, then okay, maybe. But this current team, no, I don't think they can win anything. I would probably say the Saints too. I think they were, that one play away from getting to the title game, and who knows what would have happened. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, things happen in the NFL, and you move on to the next year. Um, Donnie, we move on to next year. We'll get into the NFL in several weeks with the draft coming
Yep.
up, and
Free agency,
I'm sure
draft. Yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff. Yep.
yeah, I'm sure stuff will come out about the NFL that we'll, I'm sure, hit on at some point. We get back to college, Johnny, college basketball last night. We move it down and discuss what went on last night. You have, mid-major Thursday, but again, there were some big boys that had trouble last night. What a week of upsets, Donnie. Purdue goes down. All these ranked teams go down. Villanova loses. Auburn goes down. Last night, Duke loses as the ninth team in the country. Arizona goes down against UCLA. I'll tell you what, UCLA took it to the Wildcats last night. Duke, horrible second half. And I got to tell you, I want to go on a bit of a rant for a second here about the Blue Devils. These guards are not good enough. Grayson Allen has been fucking MIA all season. I don't know where the hell he is. He's on some other planet. And you know what? He had one good game. That was against Michigan State. He has not been the same since those tripping incidents last year. People figured out Grayson Allen. You can get into his head if he's kind of like me in a way. But you know what? I'm not in the college hoops, and I'm one of the best teams in the country. I'm a guy that does shows on the internet. Do I get annoyed? Yes. But Grayson Allen has to control himself on the court, and I think people realized you can get to him if you bother him, and when you get to him, he gets out of his game. His ascent as a college hoops player has gotten progressively worse. He was great his first season. He's went down significantly since then. Trayvon Duval's been an absolute mess. He's brutal. Played 20 minutes last night. That's not good enough. Gary Trent's been decent, but you need everyone to play well. With their ability on the front court, they just need good guard play, and they don't have it. And last night, UNC had good guard play. All three of their players, I think they scored 60 points combined. The three guards for Duke had like 38, and Duval fouled out. So that's the problem. Duke has more than one problem right now. And, look at also last night. UNC had 9 3. Duke made 9 threes out of 33. Not good enough against that defense. That defense has issues against the three. You couldn't exploit that either. Just a lot to get back to the drawing board if you're Duke.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Jeff. You know me from going way back. I look like guard play come March and April when you need to make a run in the tournament. I don't even want to say it's a shame because Duke is blessed and they're getting recruits left and right out there. But sometimes you sort of mismatch the wrong type of area. Long and athletic in the front court. I mean, Jeff, you can match that front court up against anybody in the country. If you get competent, good guard play that doesn't turn it over and gets the ball in the right positions, Duke would be hell on wheels heading down. But you're right. If you're not getting that solid guard play, if you're not getting guys to step up in big moments like Duke guards have in the past, many times heading into March, you're not going to win. I don't care how good your front court is if you can't get yourself into the right offense. I thought last night also, Jeff, getting back to that game with Carolina, it was a great spot for Carolina. And you saw the line right away, Jeff. Duke opening up -1, swung to -1.5, maybe even -2 around game time there. And Duke got the early lead in that game, but you just saw Carolina coming from a long time away. Berry, unbelievable guard play in that game. Tough spot as always to play. That's a monster rivalry down there on Tobacco Road. No surprise to me that Duke lost, but you're right. A little bit alarming when you head down the stretch because Grayson Allen, when he came back, like, oh, you finally have that senior laden guard going to lead him down the stretch. Been there, done that before, but just doesn't seem to be clicking up top just yet. They have some time to figure it out, and we'll see, but you got to love what you have down low with Duke. If you can just get some guard play, they should be okay.
People discuss how great that rivalry is. Outside of that state, everyone hates them. So I don't. Is it
Oh,
that
but it's
good
a
of a
right, yeah, but
rivalry?
it's a
Really?
great, yeah. Is there any other better basketball rivalry in the country than those two?
I gotta admit, I hate both teams, so I want to hate both of them. So
You
I
have to
prefer that they
abstain.
both lose.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think they're both coaches are two of the most overrated coaches in the history of sports. But I'll tell you what, and I hate to say it, if you're a fan of these two teams, I'm sorry. UNC's not winning shit, and neither is Duke. You have two teams that have sorely underperformed this year. It happens. They're usually very good, but UNC's not winning anything. And Duke, unless they get great guard play from here on out, they're not deep either. Both these teams have no bench at all. UNC, and the problem that USC has is they're headed by a complete moron. So I mean, good luck. I mean, really, is Roy Williams not one of the worst coaches in the country? I mean, the guy gets talent, he wins, but he doesn't win. It's nothing he does. It's just the players. He has the best players sometimes, and he's a great recruiter, and that's
I always get
part of
on
the
Roy
reason.
too, Jeff. Great. How hard would it be for you to be a recruiter? Hey, Jeff's going to take control of UNC. You walk them
Yeah.
into the Dean Dome. You point up to the rafters. Jordan played here, and you're going to wear Jordans here when you play. Oh, sign me up. Like, is it that hard to
Like,
recruit at
hey,
Carolina?
I'm Roy Williams. I'm the coach of UNC. Why don't you come play for the Tar Heels? We'll give you whatever you
Yeah.
want. You,
Yep.
you, we know you're only
Don't have
going
to
to
go to
stay here for a
class.
year, so
Yep.
yeah.
No class. You
And if
skip
you
everything.
and if you do go to class, we'll get you good grades because that's what we can do here at UNC. We'll, give you Jordan stuff and you'll be a superstar. Look at Rasheed Wallace. Look at Michael Jordan. Look at, all these great players. They went and you could be just like them. Roy Williams is awful. And look, Krzyzewski, okay. What would Krzyzewski be at Northern Iowa? You think he'd be as good as he is here? I mean, those are the real good coaches. Those are the coaches. Like, I'll continue to say it. Mark Few is a coach. Mark Few took a program from nothing, made it into something with limited talent,
Yeah, but just
never
be
left,
honest though, Jeff.
never.
Duke wasn't that super duper high profile team when Coach K took that over. Like he was fighting that uphill battle. I would like to see if Coach K went to like an NC State back then instead of Duke. If he would have been able to do that same thing down in Carolina, because Carolina was king of the hill at that point. Michael Jordan, this and that, coming off that championship, and then Krzyzewski takes over, and he had a tough stretch over those first 2 to 3 years and really built Duke into something. But I would like to see like what would Duke have been without Krzyzewski would be the interesting thing, because we know, Jeff, Carolina would have been Carolina regardless after Dean Smith gave up the coaching job.
Roy Williams is a nincompoop. He's a moron, and I'm not the only one that thinks it. Greg, listen, you're a fan. Listen, I gotta love. And look, we do it with the Eagles, so I'm not really gonna call it out, but these fans that come in here and get pissed off because like I get it all the time because I don't like Michigan State. However, I send out facts constantly with why I don't like Michigan State. Yet people still called me into me and people still whine about I don't like Michigan State. Listen, I'm not the only one that thinks Roy Williams isn't bad. He's a bad coach. We all know it. Everybody knows it. And why do you think they've had negative recruiting because of their investigation? Because they do shit the wrong way. Greg, what are you nuts? What are you not pulling the wool out of your eyes? There's a reason they're under NCAA investigation, Greg. Because they're shitheads. That's why. They do shit they shouldn't do. Wake up. These fans that just won't see through because they don't know any. Just because you're a fan, that doesn't mean anything. They don't do shit the right way. They don't do shit the board. That's why they're under investigation. And the only reason UNC's won anything is because of the players. It has nothing to do with Roy Williams. And I'm not the only person that thinks so. Donnie thinks so. Most of the guys on here think so. The only people that don't think so are the fans that are so blinded just because they're a fan, they don't want to realize it. Everybody knows it. Wake up.
Love it, big man. That's passion right there on Tobacco Road. What are they? What, 600, 700, 800 miles away from us there, Jeff? Bringing it.
And then Teddy B. Listen, Teddy B, here's what I'll do. Your UNC teams gets to the Final Four, whoever you like, Duke, I'll give you $500 cash. You hear me? Now, we're on the air right now. Can't delete that. Juan Mahir,
You know what
he can save this. They're not winning nothing. Listen, I watch basketball. I'm going to say it. I'm the best mind in this business. I know more than anybody. I know what I'm talking about. They don't have it. I'm sorry. I don't think Duke has it. Unless they go out and get, some kind of, high level guard or their guards start playing better. I don't see it. Donnie, you watch a lot of basketball. Do you think Duke's a Final Four team? I'd love for them
I
to
mean,
be.
they
They're
have the
not.
talent to get there. You're right. They just need better guard play to get there, see what their matchups would be. But I wanted to bring up the one thing where it said, the negative recruiting over the past 7 years, and they do things the wrong way. And then, what did the NCAA conclude? Nothing happened. Let's be real, Jeff, of what the NCAA is at this point, right? They don't. I mean, if you're looking at top 5 programs that would make, college money, forget about, the Ohio States in football, those type of teams. Then you look at basketball. UNC probably right up at the top. Does it benefit the ACC, Jeff, or the NCAA, if they bring down sanctions on North Carolina and say, you guys fucked up so bad, 5-year postseason ban in football and in basketball. They would never let that fly because the money flying in, they would lose. Look at the ACC tournament. Where would they host it? They always host it down there typically. I mean, they've been rotating up in the Boston area since they've been expanding the ACC, but they love to host it down there because the Carolina fans bring the money and sell out the arenas. They have a monster following. And you're telling me that the NCAA, Jeff, spent like 5 years on this. Everybody knew it was wrong. Was it Rashad McCants going, dude, I will testify against Carolina. I never went to class, and they fed me papers, and they got A's.
And who do you
Put
think?
that on record.
And who do you
Go ahead.
think's at the top of the fucking list, telling people what to do there? Who do you think's number one, Donnie?
Exactly. Roy Williams said, I
Roy
had nothing to
fucking
do
Wood.
with this. And like, look, and then the NCAA, the best, finality of it all, when all they had to say is, look, we can't afford to penalize Carolina. What did they say, Jeff? Well, a couple other of our regular students were able to take these classes. So it just wasn't a sports thing. Hilarious. But down in Miami, you're going to bang them over the head because some outrageous booster is taking some kids to strip clubs and on fishing trips out there and slipping them $100. But for decades, Jeff, not 1 year, not two, for decades at Carolina, false classes. And they said because 1, 2, or 3 other kids who were not basketball or football players could take this class, we can't penalize them. That was awesome, man. They should have just admitted it.
Well, you know what's great though, Donnie, now? That little thing called that FBI probe, it's coming for all you guys. It's coming for you, Roy. It's coming for you, Mike K. All you guys out there. All you great, legendary head coaches who couldn't tell you shit about basketball if they had to. It's coming for you. Just remember. Greg, listen, we get it. You love you love the North Carolina. You know what's funny, Greg? I have people that call into me that tell me that Tom Izzo's a great coach and he shouldn't be fired. He's a great guy. I heard people love Joe Paterno as well. Listen, I don't. How do I care? If you're a fan, which we know you are, it's not laziness, Greg. It's true. What you know more than us because you live there? Luke May in class. Who gives a fuck about that? Who cares? Who cares if Luke May was in class the next day? What's that do for me on a basketball court? Doesn't matter anyway. Nobody gives a shit what he does in class. He's a basketball player. Nobody cares that he was in class. What's that going to do with him? They don't give a shit about academics at UNC if you're a basketball player. Come on. What am I reading here? Great conversation though. Really enjoyed it.
Fun.
We get back to the Jay Wright, biggest crook. Jay Wright's the best coach in the country. Biggest crook. And I hate
Jay Wright's a miracle. I mean, Jeff,
he's a miracle worker.
Look, we take a look at Philadelphia, and we like to exclude Villanova. If you haven't lived in Philadelphia, you won't understand the dynamics.
Donnie, I hate Villanova.
I know. I wonder because people don't understand why we don't like Villanova as opposed to, well, why don't you like Villanova? They're really good. Like we like the LaSalle's, the St. Joe's of the world because they're in the city limits, but we don't even want to. That's for another show. But with Jay Wright, like Villanova, what Jay Wright has done at Villanova, like when you go to campus at Villanova, you're not going to like some. I mean, it's a. Don't get me wrong. Look, it's a beautiful campus. It's an unbelievable academic institution. But the fact what he's built at Villanova, of what he's doing, is outrageous. When you have to recruit against the UNCs, the Louisvilles, the Dukes, and you're centered. You're in Philadelphia, but you're not in Philadelphia. You play at DuPont Pavilion. Woo.
You're recruiting to Philadelphia. You're not recruiting to Miami or Arizona or somewhere nice. You're recruiting kids to go to Philadelphia. Okay, and I'm going to say something here. He doesn't get a lot of great recruits. I mean, I don't know the last time they got a top 10 recruit. I guess it was Brunson. That's probably. But
they fell into Brunson.
Right.
They fell into.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He does it the right way. Talk about a guy that rescued the program too. What was, after Raleigh, I mean, they bring in him and listen, he's a miracle worker. I think he does it with little, and he is light years better than those two down there. The problem is we've propped up Duke and UNC because they get the best players and they're just who they are. The rest of the country hates them, but you delusional people down in that area who will buy into everything they do because hey, we're supporters of the basketball program.
Also, Jeff,
It's
when you look at Villanova with Jay Wright too, how about the fact that like he stayed at Villanova? Not the greatest facilities, not the easiest place to recruit. He's gotten offers for the Kentucky job before, Calipari leaves or before
yeah,
that, way back in the day, moving on. And he stayed at Villanova the entire time. Like, no, you know what? I'm going to win a title here. And he did move on. You don't think if Jay Wright's agent right now, Jeff, picks up the phone in the NBA and says, my guy wants to make the next leap, he's not there for 10, 5-year contract, $50 million for whatever, bottom half NBA team he wants to pick and choose from. You got to give the guy credit, man. He's not all about the money.
could have went to the Sixers many times.
They could have, yes. He might still.
Didn't. Couple others quickly. South Dakota State, Donnie. This team is an over machine. If you like overs, they're a good team for you. Mike Dom killing it as always. Donnie, I had a total last night in the South Dakota State Denver game. They scored like 40 points in the last 4 minutes to go over. It was
Damn.
wild.
Really?
It was wild. Yes.
Take it how you get it,
was
right? Yeah.
amazing. ULL flames out. Lafayette loses last night. They were 10-0 in conference up until last night. And they go down, didn't play well defensively at all. Had a big problem with that. I still think they're the team to beat in this conference. Definitely want to stay on the horse. ULL still a very good basketball team. They'll get back and be fine. This is probably a good time to back them because their coach will be all up in their grill about giving up 100+ points last night. I don't understand how Big Man and Donnie can root for Nova. Can't root for Nova. They're the best team in Philly.
No, it's not that I
them?
don't root for Nova. Like, if Nova's making a run, I'm going to get excited because I'm a college basketball fan and they're local. But we all know that's not our adopted, quote unquote, teams. Like me and Jeff,
And
we like the grimiest of the grimy in Philadelphia. Like, we didn't have, like, growing up when I was younger, John Chaney was in Philadelphia. We didn't have like the powerhouses that you could just like pick and choose. Like, oh, Rutgers really good or so. Like, we stayed in the Big Five. We grew up in the Big Five. So, I mean, that one team that you can grasp onto back in the day was always the Temple Owls on North Broad Street, that grimy team playing a tough schedule, making runs in the tournament. Temple's always been my college basketball team to root for. But, again, it's hard to explain if you're not from this Delaware Valley area. And Jeff knows it. We all know it if you live here.
I mean, plus, like, my sister went to Temple. My aunt's a
Yeah, city
professor at
kids. My
Temple.
wife went to Temple. You're right. Good point.
Yeah.
Good. Like,
I mean,
Villanova, actually. Villanova is a great academic institution, but doesn't necessarily draw on Philadelphia. Like, they'll take the greats out of Boston, out of Florida, out of Georgia, out of Carolina. When Temple is city built, the same way a lot like LaSalle would be and Drexel will be.
Right.
They're city kids going to those schools. So that's probably the easier way to explain.
Here's several reasons also why I don't like Villanova. It's not in the city. Stop saying it's in the city. It's not. It's outside. And they're basically elitists. They think they're better than everyone else. They're kind of like the preppy kind of mainline-ish type of people. They come into the city. They don't like it. They want to get out as quick as possible. They just think they're better than everybody else. And look, they win a lot. They win more than Temple does generally. So, but here's the thing. You look at the top 5 winningest programs in the country, Donnie. You know who's in there? The Temple Owls, baby. So just remember that. And again, we don't just root for front runners, Teddy B. Maybe you do, but we don't. We root for
like,
our
we're not
team.
just going to get on and be like, oh my God, Nova's our team. And then if Temple made a run, boy, we really like Temple. And even back in the day, like, Jeff, one of my favorite seasons of all time, which didn't even get a title. How about the St. Joe's Jameer Nelson team? I mean, that was so much fun to watch that team, knowing how gritty they were from the A-10. Phil Martelli, like, and look at the coaches in Philadelphia as well. I mean, say what you want about Fran Dunphy. He's been here, done that at Penn for decades. Phil Martelli for decades. I mean, these guys are ingrained in the society of Philadelphia. Even Dr. John Giannini's been at LaSalle for a long time. I mean, these guys have been there, done that. And Jeff, you want to, okay, let's take a recruit down to Duke or Carolina or Miami or Ohio State or whatever, and then try to recruit up in West Philadelphia with LaSalle, or try to go up on North Broad Street and say, hey, this is where you're going to be at Temple. Even though they're great institutions, not the easiest pull.
No, and one other thing. I mean, look at a guy like Bruiser Flint. How long was he at Drexel? You have these mainstays. And look, I'm not saying I don't like other schools. I love Pookie Powell up at LaSalle right now. He's a great player. Back with
and the LaSalle run. How great was the LaSalle run? The West Philly, Southwest Philly floater team. That was so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, Tariq Duran, the Rasheed Galloway, all those guys. Yeah, no, Tyrone Garland. with Giannini. They beat Ole Miss in the tournament. I mean, even God rest his soul, back to when Rasul Butler was at LaSalle. Back in
Yep.
like early 2000s.
Yeah.
All those guys, Aaron McKee at Temple, or back with the Temple teams with like Juan
Mark
Fernandez and
Jackson.
like
Yeah. Pepe
yeah, or even
Sanchez. Like
yeah,
all those boys.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Sure, sure. Deontay Christmas, those kind of guys. So yeah, it's a city thing. It's just kind of what we do here. Um, Donnie, we move on to today. We'll quickly run through these. Not a heavy card today. We'll see if there's any value in these couple games. What do we got here?
Yeah, let's take a look here, Jeff. It's always the Friday card, folks. There's going to be a lot of people betting these games that probably shouldn't be betting these games. But hey, there's a card out there, and there are some decent action in there, Jeff. Why don't we keep it right in rotation here? We'll go over a couple games. 825, 826, Columbia versus Yale, Jeff. Very light betting. It is the Ivy League, folks, and it's Friday night. That's when the Ivy likes to take center stage. One of the few teams, or it's actually, Jeff, the only league in the country that likes to just go back-to-backs on Fridays and Saturdays. So this will be the first end of it here. 68% of those tickets, Jeff, coming in on Yale. Line opened up at 4.5, Jeff. I'm getting 4.5 across the board here. 149 also. So not much movement, not much betting on this, Jeff. What can we look at between Cornell and Yale tonight in this game? Or, excuse me, Columbia and Yale. I apologize.
Yeah, Yale comes in here, not playing particularly well right now, but they are the much better team. Columbia, a team that really struggled on the road, 1-10 straight up. They're giving up over 79 points a game. Listen, Yale looks like a play here, but they haven't had the best season. They've had some injuries. Makai Mason's been in and out of the lineup. Will he play this year? There's been speculation that he'd play at some point over the next week or two, but he hasn't got in there just yet. This line's peeling back a little bit. I think one thing about Columbia you always have to remember is they do score the basketball. They can shoot competently, but Yale does as well. Maybe an over. I mean, as long as Yale, isn't on their typical defensive stature, they're usually very good from that point. But I lean Yale here, but you're not getting them at the best time. They're not playing particularly well, but yeah, the great thing about Yale is Columbia is a great defense to score against. It's just can that Yale defense withstand a pretty decent offense? I don't trust Columbia on the road. They're 1-10. This isn't a particularly high number. You don't have to lay 7, 8. 4.5's decent. I'd lean Yale here.
Yeah, nice little Friday tilt here, Jeff. Moving on here. 827, 828, Davidson and Rhode Island. You're going to get the best offense versus the best defense matchup here in this conference. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. 59%, Jeff, of those early ticket indicators coming in on Rhode Island. Only 850, though, tickets have been tracked offshore. Line opened up between 7 and 6, depending on where you were shopping at, Jeff. Not much movement out there. 6.5 sevens on the board. I know CG Technology showing -7. Sportsbook.ag -7. BetOnline -6.5. If we take a look at the over-under, 144.5. Good game for a Friday night. At least they gave us something to watch, Jeff. So a 7 o'clock tip here. I know most people, when you're looking at that line again, saying, you know what? Davidson getting 7. They could run their offense. They can play through anybody. But Rhode Island is tough as nails, and especially being at home. But, Jeff, are we looking at a little bit too many points in this one here?
Yeah, what a great game this is going to be. And this is to me the preview of the A10. Listen, the A10 is really down this year. Not a good conference, but these two teams have been great all season. Rhode Island's done a nice job at home for the most part. These are pretty similar teams. Real good offensively, both these teams. Defensively, they've been great. And you look at what Davidson's done. I mean, what a transformation on defense. I mean, last year they had major issues. This year they have been absolutely sparkling. McKillop has really gotten these guys to care about defense. You look at in conference, giving up under 60 points a game. Teams are shooting 41.5%. For me, Donnie, I think the difference here in this game, frankly, is you look at um, the little things in these games. Do these teams turn the basketball over? No, you have two teams that are very good. The A10, by the way, guys, good to know. This is a conference that is very good at not turning the basketball over. Very good basketball IQ conference. All these teams, you look at St. Joe's, St. Bonaventure, Davidson, Rhode Island. None of these teams turn the basketball over. You want clean games generally, you're going to get it with these two teams. The problem I have here, Donnie, is that big elephant in the room that Rhode Island always has. They can't defend a lot of the time without fouling. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a big issue in this game. Davidson doesn't foul really at all. Rhode Island can't stop fouling. And you're going to have a Davidson team here that is 78% from the line, one of the better teams in the country. They're very good from three. When I look for a team and can they hang in a game, it's can they shoot a three? Can they make foul shots late in the game? Can they defend? And do they have a star to take over the game? They have all those. Peyton Aldridge is a star. If I can get 7 here, this is going to be a play for me. I like David.
Yeah, you take a look at too, Jeff. What does Rhode Island like to do? They like to turn you over. Obviously, we know Davidson not big on turnovers, but you bring up an interesting point in this one because we do know Rhode Island does like to foul, Jeff. But do you take into effect that maybe styles like that try to go into? Because we know Davidson is not that all I'm going to get to the rack by any means necessary and get fouled. And I know you talk about 78% shooting for Davidson free throw line, Jeff, up to 82% in conference. So you're right. If they're going to foul, and we're talking about the meaningless fouls, Jeff. How many times have you seen in a basketball game where you lose your mind, where you bring it up across court, right? And you get the hand check foul when the other team has 6 fouls already on them to put you into the bonus with like 4.5 minutes to go in the first half or whatever. So any time you get touched, you're going to the free throw line. You're right, that's a big key. But just getting back to that original point, Jeff, are you taking any solace there that says, you know what, if you're going to back Rhode Island, maybe they won't foul as much because Davidson won't force us into fouling?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think with these two teams, I mean, particularly Donnie, you know what for me college basketball is. People say, What's the easiest sport to cap?" I think college basketball almost gives you the game plan a lot of the time. Like you look at last night. I think the big thing with the Duke UNC game was, will UNC be able to hang on with Duke on the boards? Usually do. There might be an extra board or two, and Begley's got the edge because he's a better player. Those little things, a rebound here or there, that's going to decide games. And you look at it in this game, I think there is a bit of a blueprint in this game. You have two teams that are very similar to each other. Here's what Rhode Island can't exploit that they did last year. Last year, Rhode Island was an elite rebounding team. They were very good on the boards. They don't have a ton of height. They're not a really good front court. They're guard oriented. And Davidson is generally as well. So, I don't know if they can exploit Davidson's inability to rebound. I just think these are two really good, similar teams. I'm going to take the team to me that is slightly better defensively and just little things. I mean, Donnie, that turnover or two could be the difference in if we
Yep.
cover this game or not. For me, I just think there's too many positives here with Davidson. Like I said, if I can get 7, I would go with David.
No, I definitely hear you on that, Jeff. We have not too much time, so I do want to get to a little buy and sell action, the big men on campus. But, Jeff, on Friday, as in every day, I like to pick an extra game there. And I know how close, Jeff, the horizon is to your heart here. And this ball game we're going to take a look at here, 8:31, 8:32, Detroit University versus Oakland. And, Jeff, are we surprised 80% of the tickets are coming in on Oakland here? Nobody trying to match up on Detroit, but I know how much you care for this program. Opened up at 14, Jeff, but despite that massive amount, 80% ticket hold on Oakland, we're now seeing 13.5s across the board. Talk to me, Jeff, about Detroit out here.
I mean, you talk about Detroit. I don't really know how you can bet on them feasibly, just because you never know who's going to play with them. I mean, you look at this injury report right now. Okay, Jaleel Hogan, who's their best player, he's been out with academics. Jermaine Jackson, he has a knee injury, he may not play tonight. Gerald Blackshear, he's got an ankle injury, he may not play tonight. And then Corey Allen, their probably second best player, has the flu. Um, if these guys don't play, I mean, listen, sometimes teams can withstand a lot of injuries. The Detroit Mercy Titans are not one of them. They are bad with these guys in the lineup. You put these guys not in the lineup, I'm talking about a huge win for Oakland here. I mean, it's just
There you go.
Oakland, And here's the good thing about Oakland: they were tested in their last game with Detroit. Detroit really made a furious comeback, played pretty well in that game. Um, I don't know how I can't get involved with them just because I don't know who's going to play from time to time. And you look at Detroit's numbers; they've really struggled to shoot the ball lately. I got to tell you, Oakland, I think is going to run away.
No, it's yeah. I wanted to bring it up just because I saw that there's not a big card, so we can always have fun with some of these games. On tomorrow's card, Jeff, we probably wouldn't be talking about Detroit Mercy out there, but I thought it was funny on a Friday night just to give a little bit of love to your horizon, Jeff, as I know how it really tugs on your heartstrings, Jeff. Last edition we'll bring up here today, Jeff. Slide it down there for us, Wama. The buy or sell college basketball edition. Now, buying and selling could be two different things, Jeff. Just to lay it out for the people, because I'm going to go over the teams that we have listed at the bottom. We're buying and selling, but Jeff, tell them what you're buying and selling before I give you the teams here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know the teams. We're basically buying and selling. Do we think they have what it takes to go to the tournament and win the whole thing?
Yes,
That's
not
really what
buy,
I'm
sell on. Are you going to bet them? Are they a good bet? We're talking about
right.
futures and are they going to make a
Yeah.
difference in the tournament coming up? Let's get right to it, big man. First one. Hey, we already yelled and screamed at this team earlier, Jeff. Buy and sell right now. Duke making a run in the tournament and having a good showing. Buy or sell.
I sell that. I don't see it. They have no depth. They have limited guard play at this point. They're really going to need a total 180 from Duval and Grayson Allen. Can they get it out of them? No, I don't think. I mean, I think there are 7 or 8 teams that are better than Duke. Virginia is much better in their conference. I would sell that. I don't think they can do it. No.
All right, buy or sell. Next team, Jeff, looking up there, multi-talented team, Xavier. Buy or sell them, making it an impressive run in March.
Yeah, I really like Xavier. I think if you want a team that no one's really talking about for some reason, I think it's got to be X. X and Cincinnati are my two kind of teams off the grid a little bit. I mean, you look at Donnie, Xavier and their resume. Okay, they have 5 top 50 wins. They have 3 top 25 wins. They're second in RPI, uh, 17th in strength of schedule. They've lost 3 games. I really like Xavier. I think they're a complete basketball team. Trevon Blewett is absolutely great. They have a lot of depth at this point. You're bringing in a guy like Karam Cantor who has done some real good things for them. They got kind of the old guard McCura and those kind of guys. Tyreek Jones. I really like this team a lot. I think they're long term a real buy on group. Uh,
Yeah, no, yeah,
we'll see
I
though.
agree with you there.
They made a run last year. Why can't they make one this year?
Like, what do you look for as a team, Jeff? You want a team that's going to go out and play good defense. You want a team that's not going to turn it over. You want that superstar player that when you're down 2 points in the last 30 seconds, going to convert that bucket. And also, Jeff, how many times do you talk about it heading down the stretch? 77% from the line for a team. They have a lot of the makeup of how you can go deep in the tournament with how they play. And again, any fault, their last 2 losses, Jeff, on the road at Providence at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, tough place to play, and on the road at Villanova, outside of that, handling their business. So, very good team, Jeff. And how about the third
And
team we're
Donnie,
going to pick up here? Go ahead, man.
real quick. I know
Yep.
people don't think that it matters. RPI and SOS matter to the committee. That's just the truth. So you have to be looking at that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think they all have that. So yeah, I'm big on Xavier.
Pac-12, Jeff, slipping up in their last 2 games here. We're going to pick on Arizona here, Jeff, losing to Washington and UCLA back-to-back here. Are they going to be able to pick up the pieces? We know they have the talent to get it done out there. Coaching change, see what's going to happen towards March. Buy or sell heading down the stretch, Jeff, the Arizona Wildcats.
Um, uh, wow. I still buy them. I still think they're a really good team. They just had that's a weird conference out there. There's been a lot of real good teams in the Pac-12. But I go back to their problems at the beginning of the season and kind of highlight those as well. I mean, in that tournament they had, I still wonder how good they are on defense. I don't know if it's quite there. They give up another big number last night. That's been kind of an issue all year for Sean Miller's team. Plus, you have that indictment that I think Sean Miller's more involved than people might think there. Aiton's a great player. I like Trier, but I don't know. Is this one of the vintage Arizona teams? I thought it was, but I don't think it is now. This is not like that, T.J. McConnell, Gabe York, Tarzuski team a couple years ago. Um, I still think Arizona is the best team in that conference. I do think they can win. They're going to have to improve though and continue to improve defense.
Yeah, I love the Big 12, Jeff. We're going to take a quick peek here at Kansas heading forward. They have a lot of what you like looking, but also heading down the stretch, Jeff, battle tested. You're going to go through that whole Big 12 schedule. You're going to go through the Big 12 conference tournament before you even make it to the run for March, Jeff. Any buying or selling here for you on Kansas and the Jayhawks?
Yeah, I would have to sell the Jayhawks, unfortunately. Guard play does win in the tournament, but at this stage, you look at all the other teams, Purdue, Arizona, Duke, or whoever is a high level team still at this point, in a blue blood, all those teams have competent big men. Um, Kansas has one, and then you have literally nothing. They've just not gotten enough production out of some of the transfers or recruits that they hope to get it from. They have this new kid, D'Souza, who is really raw. They literally have as of weekend, that's it. Maybe Mitch Lightfoot, but I don't know if he's someone you can depend on. When they face some of these big teams, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble. They have great guard play. I like Newman. I like Vic. I love Devontae Graham. Svi, but is that enough when you're facing a Purdue or an Arizona? All these teams have really impending big men. They're one team that has one, and if he goes out with two fouls early, then what do you do?
Yeah. Losers of 3 of 5 here, Jeff, in the SEC. The Florida Gators, one of those teams maybe that you might be saying laying in the weeds right now, waiting on Igbunu to come back to be as that dominant force down the stretch. But then again, is he even going to be able to be integrated back in and be, I want to say, worth his while, worth his weight down the stretch here, Jeff? Florida Gators, buy or sell? Can they make a run in the tournament?
I think if they get John Egbunu back, they can. But that's a really tough conference down there. They're gonna definitely be battle tested enough. Um, I've heard weird things about Igbuna. He may play, he might not come back. I think they need him. If they're gonna make a run, they're gonna need John Igbuna because he's one of those elite rim protectors. Yeah, I think if they get Igbuna back, I buy. If they don't, I probably would sell.
All right, Jeff. Well, buys up there, that top 5 team. We'll do a lot of that moving forward. And Jeff, I know we talked yesterday, saw the tweets coming out. 31 days now, Jeff, until the Selection Sunday committee comes together and tells us who's going to be in the field. So a lot of fun. It was nice to put a bow on NFL season. A lot of college basketball moving forward. It's a great time of year as teams jockey for position in their conference play. And of course, trying to get that all together bid. And again, if you don't get the bid, Jeff, we got NIT, CBI, CIT, a lot of fun to be had heading down the stretch, Jeff. So look out on the right side of campus. I know you do a lot of things on the channel too as well. Bet Buffet, it's good, always zeroed in on college basketball. So we'll have a lot of fun heading down the stretch. Hopefully we'll be able to find you winners there. And Jeff, you want to take us out today?
Yep. As always, thanks everyone for listening all week here. We'll be back Monday with another edition of the show. I'll be back tomorrow with Ian Cameron at 11 a.m. On the closing line. We'll go over the Saturday card and hopefully try to find some winners tomorrow. Other than that, have a great day. We'll be back Monday. Thanks to everyone for listening today. We'll see you Monday here on the right side of campus. Have a great day. Bye bye.